for being here today, and thank you to our team. I would like to do a quick introduction of our judges. Mohammed Torjizi from the University of Saskatchewan, Ron Stiles, SaskTel, Greg Sauter, Saskatchewan Rough Riders, Jane Button, Scotiabank, Kelly House, Scotiabank, Mark Whitley from EMCO. For competitors, you have a maximum of 20 minutes to present. Immediately following your presentation, the judges will have a total of 5 minutes to ask the presenters questions. During this time, I will be giving you time cards so that you know where you're at in your presentation. In the 5 minutes of questioning, I'll give you a 1 minute warning. I'll knock at 30 seconds so that the judges know that they have 30 seconds to finish up. Audience, there is no comments, cell phones, picture taking permitted during at any time. Please ensure that your cell phones are on vibrate or on quiet. Please only applaud at the end of the question and answer period. There is no material that bears the name or symbol of any competing university allowed in here. We ask at the end of the question and answer period that the audience exit immediately. This allows the judges to be able to do their scorecards. There is the clip right there. I want to confirm that your team lied. Yes. When you're ready.
Thank you so much for having us today. We're very excited to be here with this awesome opportunity to acquire Borealis Auctions. Together we're Concept Consulting. This is Annika, Parmpreet, my name is Lucas, and like I said, we're very excited. So a quick executive summary. You asked us to look into the best way to approach the bank for acquiring the loan to make sure that you're able to purchase Borealis. But we wanted to take it one step further and ensure that you could achieve the potential that Borealis really has. And we feel that that's something you're very capable of doing through the 4-pillar recommendation that looks into the financial, economical, social, and technological areas that Borealis operates in. So quick agenda, we'll start with a company overview, then get through the issues, do some analysis on what's going on in the business environment there, and then the recommendations to the issues we've identified, how we're going to put those into action, and then the risk mitigations, and brief it with a summary. So quickly into the company overview, we noticed that Borealis has 4 key values. They are very honest, qualified, reliable, and credible, and that has to do with a lot of the experience that each of the staff members of Borealis actually has. So the staff is very important to Borealis, and that allows them the competitive advantage of the loyal consumer base through the knowledge and reputation that they see. So identifying a few problems, issues that we wanted to look into with the acquisition. Financially, we noticed that you do need to acquire this loan, so there's going to be some things that we have to make sure are in place, so that is a real possibility. Like what the offer price is and the financial capital that you're going to be able to invest due to that $65,000 that each of you 3 have for the acquisition. Economically, we noticed that the Canadian recession is definitely a factor that needs to be looked into. What it means is that although you'll be able to buy great amounts of inventory, it means that there might not be as much disposable income to be selling that income to be selling the inventory once you've acquired it with Borealis. And then provincial growth is something that we wanted to note because southern Ontario is where Borealis is focused right now, but we do want to look into a little bit of expansion throughout Ontario as there's potential for increased revenues. socially, the transfer of contacts from Jan, legally, the legal contacts necessary to running a very good auction business is really important when you're dealing with the transfer of money for different acquisitions in that market, and then adding new contacts and increasing the amount of customers is definitely something we wanted to tackle. Role development with Larry and Jerry as the transition of Borealis is going to take place to increase those revenues. And then technologically, currently there's no online auction platform, and we feel like that's a great opportunity. And then also improving to having an inventory management system, we feel could be very advantageous. So the primary issue that we noticed, obviously, is acquiring that initial bank loan. Definitely key to acquiring Borealis. So we really wanted to figure out what price to best offer Borealis to make that acquisition possible. And now Annika will walk you through the analysis.
Thank you, Luke. So we did a few things. So we started with the stakeholder analysis because it is important to look at who we're going to be dealing with. So Borealis, these are the 5 main people. So you have the CEO who's wanting to discontinue there after a year of working part-time. You also have the CEO who wants to continue, and the other 3 actually, they're all the same. They would like to continue with this company, and as so, it's really important to ensure that they're actually going to stay with the company. So with our recommendation, we ensured that this would be possible. So as Luke just went over these, I'm going to go more in detail in analysis of these. So for financial, for acquiring the loan, you'll need collateral. Otherwise, the bank's not going to give you that loan. So the 3 of you, we looked over what you gave us. So you have a few options that we thought would be good, like the car, the savings, and the savings. And then for the offer price, we approximated $300,000. We have that in the appendix if you'd like to see how we got there. As well as the limited cash flow, you only have $195,000 because you said you would give $65,000 each. So what we did, we thought that each of you signed $70,000 from your savings, as well as the loan acquisition depends on the appraisal of the company, as we thought, appraising the company to see what it's actually worth. And then the goal of this would be the loan and then an additional $50,000 on top of the appraisal. For the economical, so like Luke was saying, with the recession, you're going to get an increase in inventory. Now, however, this also might decrease your buyers since they're not going to have as much money. So to mitigate this, we thought an online auction platform would be a better idea to buy them online instead of having to come to your place. And then for the provincial growth, like Luke said, it's limited to Southern Ontario. And then if you, like you said, the risk of that, they're going to sell privately as they are currently, or the online platform elsewhere. So to mitigate that, open it up to Eastern Canada and just expand your horizon. For the social aspect, we did a bit of a decision analysis here. So for the transfer of contacts, adding new contacts, and role development, we looked at 3 other things. So you have to create a documentation for your current contacts to go from Jan to you guys. So there needs to be some sort of formal documentation saying that they're actually going to stay with this company. Same goes for adding new contacts. You're going to want to have some sort of documentation in place for them to actually be with you, as well as the role development. You will also want to have some documentation to see if you're going to acquire this company, what is their new role and what it exactly entails. You'll also want to personally contact the clients. So this doesn't apply to role development as they're your staff currently, but for the transfer and adding, you'll want to contact them personally. They're Jan's clients currently, so you'll probably want to say, I'm the new owner, and get to know them a little bit better. And then for holding the meetings for clarification, so that's basically just making them comfortable with you, one-on-one meeting to get to know them better, just like Jan always did. And it might be a little bit inconvenient for the clients, so the best way to do this would be just to set up a channel that would work for the both of you. So altogether, create the documentation to present to your clients and then personally contact them. And then Parm's going to take you through the technology.
Thank you. So with the technological, obviously right now there's no online auction platform, and I want to make sure that's happening, as well as there's no inventory management system. As we're looking to implement an online auction system, there will be an increase of inventory going through you, as we want to make sure that there is some sort of system in place so that this is a seamless process. Here we go. So again, we did a decision matrix here, and we wanted to really look at a couple different things that would kind of solve these kind of issues that we identified. So there's no online auction platform, there's no inventory management system, and there should be some sort of cost to implementation. So we look to, one, establish a contest. So two great resources within Ontario itself are the two universities, University of Toronto and the University of Waterloo. So these two universities have great programs for computer sciences. And as you're looking for two simple things in 2015, a website as well as a search engine optimization. In 2015, these are basic courses that are taken in computer sciences. So if we're looking for this, we can create a contest in which computer science students are in place and they have some sort of prize to work for. However, they do the work for you, and this is much cheaper than the $150,000 cost that you identified in the first place. We also looked at creating an app. However, this doesn't help with an inventory management system, and this would create an online platform. However, looking at your customers, we noticed that if there was an app in place, your customers aren't the specific demographic that would look to have an app to do their auctions. They would want to make sure that there is a solid base, and making sure that the website would, making sure that there's some sort of website and some sort of login, as well as security would be an issue on an app, especially if we want to look towards a high security app. It would be a higher cost, and that doesn't seem feasible at the moment for what you're planning in your implementation. As well as implement a packaged inventory management system in IMS. So these can come in packages, and this means that it's a reduced cost because there's already something programmed for you. There's no in-house development needed. Again, with looking at increasing your inventory, but only through online transactions, this kind of in-house IMS is not needed, so something packaged can be made. And again, this doesn't help. This does help somewhat with your online auction platform, not directly. It's not in that development process. It does give you an IMS system, so this does make your inventory systems much more developed, and it does help with the transactions. And the cost of implementation, we're looking to for you to make sure that $150,000 that you were looking to raise in your implementation would instead go to this instead of creating a website. So again, implement a packaged IMS and establish a contest. So I'll go through the recommendation a little bit more in depth. There's a little bit that needs to be said about things like the contest, the IMS, and so forth. So the summary of our recommendations overall, financially, for the loan, to sign a collateral of $70,000 each, and the loan acquisition depends on an appraisal. So what we'd like to do is a third-party appraisal. We looked at the financials, and some things didn't add up from what we saw. I just want to make sure that the financials do make sense in itself. So a third party would help with this. And this is for the goal of the loan. And based on the appraisal, we would want to put $50,000 on top of that, just to have some working capital when you do acquire Borealis auctions. In terms of social, we wanted to create documentation and to present as well as personally contact each of the clients. So this is making sure that the top clients do know who you are and what's happening with the company, as well as some documentation so you know what you're looking forward to when you do acquire this company. And in terms of economical, online auction platform, so it's something that I already went into pretty in depth, as well as open to Eastern Canada technologically, implement the packaged IMS, and establish a contest for your online auction platform. So the IMS, the purpose of this, what we're looking for in a packaged IMS, we would look for a system in which items acquired, items to be auctioned, items auctioned off, and items sold would be recognized. So when an item to be auctioned off is set onto the online platform, you would get that information immediately. It would be tagged in a system. However, you would not be holding this on your own. With your system right now, it's at the seller's convenience to hold on to that equipment. Right now, they come into the warehouse and they have the auction off, and it's immediately set off. We hold it for 4 days, and that's the process. With the auction, with this system, they would put it online. They would sell it. It would go through you. You would take a percentage of that, like eBay does. and then it would be shipped through you, and you would facilitate that process. For the contest for online auction platform, open to University of Toronto and University of Waterloo, main focus is on computer science students. There would be a $3,000 prize pool. $1,500 would go to first place, $1,000 to second place, $500 goes to the third place. So again, it is a contest, and there's still a podium. However, you get the best out of all the contestants, and that's what you get to implement at the end. $2,000 would be used for advertising, so this is posters, some online. Again, you want to make sure that it reaches out to these computer science students so you do get the best of what's out there, as well as emailing professors so they can let their students know this opportunity. As well as requirements of this contest would be that the search engine optimization would have to be part of it, aesthetically it would have to be pleasing, and there has to be an e-commerce part to it as well. So again, you want this auction platform, so we want to make sure it's there. Social recommendations, so there has to be a list of clientele as well as general information. You want to know what their purchasing history, if that's possible, as well as contact information and length of importance of the relationship. This is something that Jan knows personally, and so we want to make sure that his information is consolidated into yourselves as well. As well as personally contacting, so yourself, Brandon, you'd be contacting the top clients. These are Jan's clients at the moment, but you'd be personally contacting them, letting them know what's happening with the company. And so in this way, the transition is a lot more seamless. And then, so just how you would implement this. So on top of the implementation that you identified yourself, we'd be looking at, again, we looked at your implementation, so on top of that, in the next 5 days, what needs to happen is the appraisal needs to happen, considering your meeting with Richard Lim is in 5 days. The appraisal needs to happen, you need to have your meeting with Richard, and you need to negotiate the new offer within the appraisal. So the appraisal plus, you would make the offer with the appraisal that you get from the third party, and then you would also have the meeting with Richard Lim to negotiate the loan with a $70,000 collateral from each of yourselves, as well as the $195,000 capital that you also put up as well. In the next 2 months, you would acquire the loan, you would create Jan would create documentation, and you yourselves would be establishing contacts with Jan's clientele, and you would establish this contest as well. It would go forward to the universities, and immediately they would start this process, and within the next 3 to 12 months, the contest should be finished, as it should be open for about a semester's worth of time. And so within that time, you should be able to implement an IMS system. So this is going out, sourcing an IMS, getting those requirements that you need, as well as the auction platform should be online. The students should have created a platform at this time and you should have time to implement it, as well as open to Eastern Canada now that this auction platform is online and there is a platform in which they can do their auctions. And now I'd like to hand it back to Luke for the risk and mitigation.
Thank you, Connor. So of course, with every great recommendation, you know there's going to be some risks that come along with that. But what we've done here is our best to mitigate those risks to ensure that you're able to reach that potential once you've acquired Borealis. So the first risk that we wanted to note was that the contest may not provide an adequate platform from those students. So what we thought to do there was use the $150,000 that was assigned towards the IMS system and put that towards the website, because a website is not something that's cheap, but it's also very important to have, especially when it's going to be very functional with e-commerce and with your e-commerce, of course. So what that would mean is that the IMS is delayed indefinitely until enough capital is able to be raised to contribute right to that. The second risk that we did want to take a look at was that the appraisal under $500,000, that the current owners of Borealis aren't willing to sell it at that price. So if the appraisal is under $500,000 and then Borealis still wants to sell it for $500,000, then maybe what you're going to have to do is explore other options, because although they are a great option and they do hold a lot of potential, you need to make sure that the investment's going to be worth the return. So that's definitely an option that you have to consider, is exploring other options in the market to purchase. So a brief summary of what we've gone over today. We did go kind of fast. There was a lot of content, but we're very excited because we feel that we've given you the best approach to secure that loan from the bank, and then find that potential that Borealis has to see success in the auction market through the 4-pillar recommendation, financially, socially, economically, and technologically. So we'll be with you every step of the way. We're 100% willing, and we'd like to open the floor to questions.
What kind of revenue projections did you look at your projecting at with respect to earnings?
So is this just generally with the implementation that was given from yourself, or with our implementation, what extra revenue we can generate?
Yeah, with yours. What do you recommend?
Our recommendation was in support of your implementation. So the revenue generations that you've given, it was to make sure that those will happen.
Is this the best way to extract maximum value from the company over time going forward?
We do feel that definitely Borealis is in an unfortunate spot the way they've seen those declines. And the first step is getting that audit to make sure that we can see what the real numbers are with the company. But our recommendation is your best bet on capturing that potential.
What's your marketing strategy for the online platform? How are you going to get it out there to your customers, and what do you expect the difference in margins to be between sales at your physical location versus your online platform?
Yeah, so just to go over your first question was more in the marketing towards that. So for that, you currently have the 78,000 that you're emailing out, so we definitely thought you should email them saying this is a new thing that we're doing. And then from then on, I guess just online and market newspapers and that kind of stuff. What was your second question?
What do you expect the difference between revenue margins to be between on-site versus online auctions?
I don't think.
I can take that one. Yeah, so with the margins on your revenue through online, since there's no physical costs such as renting out the warehouse, having those employees for security, and having an auctioneer, there's significantly less cost to having an e-commerce platform. Considering as well as you don't have to meet that 100,000 revenue each time, you can have individual items for auction, and you can have them all in a list. So with the physical auction, we recommend keeping that as well, considering that that is something that some of the customers are looking for, as well as having it online and making it open and available for others, so you can have that marginal increase. And again, you identified that over $500,000 in revenue could be garnered from the e-commerce, and so we're looking to make sure that happens as well. And that's what our recommendation was focused for, supporting your implementation and making sure that they become real.
Does Ritchie Brothers, do they have an online platform? Like what you would think, or is it something similar to what you described?
So the Ritchie Brothers, they do have this online platform. What we're making sure is with your company, with our recommendation of an online platform, is that you don't fall behind the Ritchie Brothers. So now it's almost a game of catch up what you have to do. Ritchie Brothers has this online platform, and with this online platform and making sure that your customers have this, you won't lose customers. Have I confused you a little bit, or?
No.
Oh. So it's making sure that you have this online platform in which you don't lose further customers, because customers have already started moving to the online platform, in which way you can gain those customers again back. And the ones who have been selling privately, again, you can gain those customers back.
So how do you think you can differentiate from Ritchie Brothers?
What that's going to be all about is staying true to what Borealis does best, and that's the honesty, the credibility through the reputation and the experience that they have. So as long as you can maintain that, then you'll see that success through differentiation.
Having someone else develop your online platform is a great idea, at a low cost for a contest, but is $1,500 enough? Are you going to get students to invest the amount of time required to do all the programming? And then if they do, how are you going to maintain it?
So we did actually contact a few of them, and that's actually how we got to the amount of money that we did. So $1,500 is actually quite a bit of money for some people, as students especially. And the second part of your question was, sorry,
How are you gonna maintain it?
maintain,
The system, you're gonna get it from the student,
yeah.
but you don't really have a lot of IS capabilities. How are you gonna make sure that it continues to work over time?
So I think we were just planning to take the idea from them and then establish it further and develop it over the time to really, take in the values of the company as well and just really integrate it all together.
That's our time.